Thank you, Darren, and congratulations and thank you to the Meyer family and the Yugobar team for the invitation to be here today on this special occasion, the opening of this magnificent centre. I would like to just say publicly about the topic I've been given the talk here today. I thought Rob was a mate of mine until and I'm wondering... And I'm wondering what I did to him to be inflicted with this task. Staying profitable, yeah, no, that's not enough, mate. You owe me a bottle of Grange or something, I think. Look, I feel as a small player in the company of the people who have been on this program so far today, but it is an honour to be here. And I'm just going to talk, base my little presentation here today on basically my experience in running a small cattle trading business, but supplement that with the knowledge and experience, I guess, that I'm privileged to be part of working with some of my consulting company clients who are very professional and larger scale cattle traders. I'm going to, and for the people who, I was mindful of the fact that with a big crowd, lots of people would not be able to see the screen, so I'm just going to use some prompts here in my PowerPoint presentation to guide me along. And I'm going to present, I guess, my key messages up front because time is short and I'll run through them fairly quickly, but I will come back in a minute and talk to some of them in a little bit more detail. But again, and some of these you would have heard before, but I mean, I still think they are absolutely, when I look at what I've, over my experience, I just see how important they are. And of course, it's about having a focused market. And in this cattle trading business, it's about specifications, making sure that the cattle meet those specifications. The second great challenge, and this is where has been one almighty challenge, I guess, in the last 3 years, 2 to 3 years, with unprecedented cattle prices, to buy cattle at, I've called a reasonable dollars per kilo rate. Now, reasonable, I guess, is a little bit flexible there from some people, and I'll come back and touch about that in a minute. But it's important that those cattle are bought to perform to the specification and deliver on the specifications that you're targeting. And I guess this is on reflection, one of the most basic but absolutely necessary things, and that have a rock-solid procurement program for the cattle before you start. That's absolutely pivotal, and you can come undone very quickly if that's not in place before you start. And it's been touched on before today. It's about having a marketing relation with your customer. And know who your customer are, and whether it's a feedlot or a processor, whoever, a bull buyer, say in Yugobar's case, it's about recognising those people as customers. Unfortunately, I guess in the beef cattle industry, sometimes lots of people view their customers as their enemies, but I think it's really important, and I'll touch a bit more on that because I think it's really important. I like to think that I'm a marketer of my cattle as opposed to a seller, and I also think that that's an era that we need to step up to the plate a bit more in the future. And also, the question just a moment ago to Jason about data and monitoring and measuring, absolutely pivotal, and I'm not one for big data, but it's important to have some data that's going to help you make better decisions, and I just totally support what Jason said a moment ago. And the next one, and I think this is really when I'll reflect on my career in this job, it's about surrounding yourself with like-minded, proactive people who are going to add value to your business. Not take value away from your business, but add value to your business. Okay, just to reflect quickly on my cattle trading business, which I run in a fairly time-poor manner, I guess, because it's got to be shared with my consulting business, and I'm supposed to be moving into retirement. So there's a fair few challenges from a time point of view. So I keep mine very simple because it's got to be a simple plan. So it's a feeder steer business, supplying steers to a feedlotter such as, not to Tess, but a person who is in the same game as Tess, and that is buying feeder steers. My specifications are very simple: 380 to 500 kilos live weight, 0 to 2 teeth, less than 50% Brahman content is the target specification that I apply to, and they go into one of those feedlots that was marked on Tess's map that are probably in that southern Queensland zone. Buying cattle to meet at a reasonable dollars per kilo rate Dare I say, if I wasn't grey before I started this, no wonder I am now. But it's also really about being realistic about achieving those specifications in your production environment. For example, I don't go and target a premium Black Angus steer market with a marble score 4 or something like that where my cattle run for part of their life in a subtropical pasture-based system here in the coast. And I normally buy my cattle 240 to 260 kilos, but I buy lighter cattle at times because you have to be a little bit flexible. And when the feedlot market extended their grain feeding periods because of cheap grain last year, they moved the sweet spot on their grid back a bit, and it was a situation where you took the rate, not the weight, which means that we moved back a little bit in the weight we buy the cattle at. So there is some flexibility. And the bottom line is I aim to put on 200 kilos in 12 to 16 months. And that 200 kilos, I didn't just pluck that out of the air. There is some background to that in relation to spreading overhead or spreading some fixed costs over a certain number of kilos. And we haven't got time to go too deep into some of that stuff here today. You would have seen in the picture a minute ago, I use crossbred steers to capture as much hybrid vigour for growth rate as I can possibly capture. And I top that up with HGPs. Unashamedly, I use HGPs because my key profit driver here is weight gain. So I use hybrid vigour for growth and top it up with a HGP. And the one thing I learned a long time ago from some people who mentored me a little bit in this was that out of spec cattle at the end of the day, excuse the expression, are a real pain in the bum. And the best way to avoid them is to not buy them. And I don't subscribe to the basis, I'll just buy them on the day, I'll find something to do with them down the track. That's a no-brainer, I don't do that. And also I think I don't buy cheap cattle because I'm been bitten before. They come with baggage and they take up the space of a potentially higher performing one. So they are costly to the business. Procurement program, absolutely important. And I'm going to just share with you mine, but it might not apply too widely across the board, but it certainly works for me. It's critically important, and in most cases, probably a lot of cases, there's another party involved. In my case, there is another party involved in the procurement program to this, and I'm up front here right here now and say that that's what makes the system works. It's a rock solid program. We operate on the same page. And we stick to it. So that's a fundamental, because I haven't got time to go to every dogfight cattle sale to try and buy cattle. We don't chop and change, we stick to it. So this, for the people who are close enough to see this graph, you might say, what on earth is that? That's the graph of the lots of cattle that I bought for the last financial year. There are 197 lots of cattle there at an average lot size of 3.9. Representing 780 head of cattle, and they've come in all over the whole year, except with the exception of 2 months. There were no cattle bought in 2 months. You might say, how on earth could you manage a system with that as the basis of it? But we do. And the other thing that's relevant there is there's 156 pick numbers there. So over the last couple of years, there's a fair chance that I've sampled a fairly high percentage of the people sitting here today. But don't come over to me and ask how did my steers go, please. And out of interest, the kilos per head for those 197 steers last year was 240 kilos. And for the people close enough, we don't vary too much. We do buy some lighter cattle and a few heavier ones at different times. This is one of my, favourite bits of my, I think I do, I hope I do reasonably well. I hope I do this reasonably well. And that is to have a marketing relationship with a customer. And my customer is the feedlotter in southern Queensland. And I do that because I want that person to choose me over everybody else who's flogging that person cattle that week, and then come back to me at a later date. I work hard on that. I think I work hard on that, and I'm pretty happy with how that goes. And I aim to produce a consistent, reliable, high-quality product, and I don't cut corners. I don't slip a dog in here and there onto a B-double steers and say the blokes in the induction area at the feedlot won't notice him. I don't do that. I think that's just cutting corners and jeopardising that marketing relationship and that reputation and the ability that they might come back later. And I really try to invest time in a long-term relationship. Now, Jason talked about data and how to use it and how much is the right amount of data. I've got in front of me here the hard copy of the feedback from the last 780 steers that have been killed, and there's everything there I would want, from kill date, days on feed, live weight, slaughter weight, market, daily gain, carcass weight, P8 fat, meat colour, marble score, etc. I'll have to sift out of that what data I can use in the time I've got available to make better decisions, as Jason said. And this little graph up here again, for the people who can see it, it graphs out the 700 odd, 80 odd steers, whatever it is there, in average daily gain over their feeding period to feedlot. And the pleasing thing there for me is that and I'm more than happy to discuss about this, my steers average 200 grams a day above the feedlot average. And that might not sound much, but it's over 120 days that adds up. And that 70% of the steers performed above feedlot average. And the other thing I think I like about that is that there's fairly even spread across the page, which the message comes back that we, not me, we are buying pretty much the right cattle for the market we're targeting. Okay, to go to the next step, and that is to measure and monitor the health of the business. I encourage my clients in my consulting business to do this. Critically important, but we do need to collect some data, and the question then is, how much data do you need? And we could talk all day about that, and we haven't got time. But in simple terms, it's about focusing on the profit drivers for your business and collecting data that'll help you make better decisions in relation to delivering on those profit drivers. And don't get distracted by the stuff that's of lesser importance. And I'll just quickly go through this, because the bit of data that I really focus on is the average buy price on a per kilo basis for my steers coming into the system versus the price for the steers going out of the system, or the market value at that time. And I'm more than happy to say that the average buy price for the steers across that 12-month period was $3.58. And bear in mind that the ECI ran at unprecedented levels, and if I plotted that on this graph, it would have been off the page. But we managed to stay at a line averaging $3.58. And the average sell price across that exact same period was $3.57. So what that basically tells to me, in a very simplistic way, because I'm no economist or whatever, that I'm starting with a clean sheet of paper. I don't have to pick up a 50-cent differential by paying 50 cents a kilo more for the steers that I'm getting. So I've got a blank sheet of paper, so it's all about, from that point on, for me, it's just weight gain and cost of production to put those kilos on. And I'm more than happy not to be whittling down a 50 or 60 cent differential, which lots of people who paid $4.50 and 60 or 70 for steers have got to face up to in the next little while. That's my simplistic evaluation of that. Sell weight, pretty much delivered on my 200. The sell weight was 420 something kilos. Okay, to finish off then, the other points that I would like to, that I focus on and target with the data is, I guess, looking at cost of production, which I encourage all my clients to do a cost of production evaluation for their businesses, and the return on investment and return on assets managed. I do benchmarking, and in relation to the second one there, return on investment excluding capital appreciation, ABARES says that the coastal areas of New South Wales is 0.2% per year. Well, I can assure you I'm not going to work my guts out to get that return. I will retire. And I look at that as important, and I work to achieve a higher return on investment than that 0.2, I can assure you. And I will continue to do so. Where to after this? I've been lucky enough, or fortunate, I've worked with some of my clients from my beef groups to secure some funding from the Farming Together project. And we're going to work collaboratively to look to do that benchmarking more extensively across a range of businesses spread through the eight beef groups that I have in that network, spread through northern New South Wales and coastal areas. And Lorraine Gordon, the CEO of the Farming Together program, is here today, and you want to meet Lorraine or talk to her, she'll be over at the Hoffman beef tent in the discussion time. Surround yourself with competent people who can add value to your business. It would be my key take-home message. Absolutely. I'm not here to sell myself as a consultant. I'm talking there about just doing it. Don't waste time focusing on issues that are not key profit drivers, and sharing knowledge and experience is an unbelievably powerful learning experience and tool. And don't be distracted by DFOs. And DFOs, in my case here, stand for data-free opinions. Seek out decisions that have got something more rigorous behind them. So, and finally, Darren and Rob, I'd like to say that I strongly advocate that those messages apply outside running a cattle trading business. I think they apply across the board. And I would suggest that if you go home and think about those, I had a really great guest speaker that talked to my beef groups a couple of months ago, and Jock Whittle, the CEO of Paraway Pastoral Company, and Jock's message was, if there's nobody above you in the business putting the blowtorch on you and asking, are we doing well or can we do better, well, you need to put the blowtorch on yourself. Maybe just singe for the first time, but certainly do it. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Bill. Is there any questions?
I don't want any questions.
No questions? All right, Bill will be very happy with that. I'll hand you over to Rob.
Bill, on behalf of Yugobar, we'd like to present you with this small gift of appreciation. I do still hope you call me a mate after asking you to do that presentation.
There's a bottle of Grange in here after giving me that topic.
But thank you again for your input here this morning. Cheers.